The president of Nigeria, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, does not have the Igbos' interest at heart. How do I mean by this? Some persons are saying his information is against the Fulanis. He's fighting to clamp down the Fulanis. He's fighting to dismantle and dislodge the Fulanis, hegemonies, and the rest of them. These are Badabash. Tinubu's policies and programs are against the Igbos. They're against the Igbos. Even in his cabinet, or kitchen cabinet, or whatever, caucus, you did not see any representation of the Igbos in his cabinet. He is a tribal bigot to the core. The only difference between him and the Fulanis, the Buhari, which he says he's going to step into his shoe, is just because he is from the southern part of the country. Tinubu is a tribal bigot. Of course, many people have accused him of that. Even the Fulanis, who taught him, or perhaps he learned from them, which he said he's going to put his leg in the shoe of Buhari, which means he's going to replicate whatever Buhari did. He is going to replicate his. What were the antecedents of Buhari? Buhari was against the Igbos. So if Tinubu said he's going to replicate what Buhari did, which means part of what he's going to replicate is to fight the Igbos. Now, you cannot convince me that you love the Igbos. You have the Igbos, the interest of the Igbos at heart. People are being massacred and killed. Invasions of communities in the Igbo land. Today, the Igbos are fleeing from their respective homes under the watch of Tinubu. Where are the security operatives? Where is the justice? Where is that equity? Where is that balance in Tinubu's administration? Tinubu never loved the Igbos. Regardless of the fact that his son married allegedly or was married to an Igbo woman, that does not mean any, it doesn't mean any difference. It doesn't change the head. How could Tinubu convince me that he loved the Igbos, while Igbo elder statesmen has been clamoring, calling for the release of Nnamdi Kanu? Tinubu deemed it necessary to release with a matter of urgency the leader of Mieti Allah, Badejo, was released. Or what is that his name again? Was released because the Fulanis demanded, mounted pressure on Tinubu's administration through the Attorney General. He came out to say in the interest of peace, in the interest of justice and public peace, he is releasing the president of Mieti Allah. But for more than 4 years today, Tinubu has not deemed it necessary to release a man that has been vindicated by the court of law, tried and tested. And the same Nigerian appellate court gave their verdict that if this man is set free by the court, he should go free. Because if the court has been able to establish any case against Nnamdi Kanu, I believe they will have every reason to uphold that verdict against him. Now that the verdict was in favor of Nnamdi Kanu, you see how they are playing politics with it. He says Sheyi Tinubu's son is saying that after the election, they will release Nnamdi Kanu, playing game with the Igbos Efulefus, the Igbos politicians, who unfortunately are very gullible. Majority of them, not all of them. We see how have sound Igbo politicians who believe in ethics, in good governance, and in humanity. The majority of them were canvassing, let the election go, Nnamdi Kanu will be released today, after the election. 2 years after the election, what is happening? What is happening? Nnamdi Kanu is being still incarcerated. No, how could Tinubu convince me as an Igbo man that he has the interests of the Igbos at heart? There have been several demands, local and international, that Nnamdi Kanu should be released. That the court had ruled in his favor, have ruled the case. He has no other substantive argument to be sustained by the defendant, those who accuse Nnamdi Kanu. What Tinubu administration could do is to seek for the stay of execution of the same judgment that was ruled by a competent court of law. You went in the same courts, appellate courts, giving two different injunctions. Rather than following the standing order or the verdicts that have been ruled, you went and obtained a counter judgment, stay of execution, that you have to start the process again. Why Nnamdi Kanu is languishing in detention? That is clear oppression, an extension of what Buhari did to the Igbos. There's nothing different about that. Buhari considers the Igbos as his arch-enemies, describing them as a dot in a cycle. Otherwise, you would not tell me. Even when the Afeniferes, the socio-cultural body of the Yoruba, has called on Tinubu, release Nnamdi Kanu. See what is happening. Release him. Sunday Igbohu has called. Release him. And yet, Tinubu is still playing politics with the release of Nnamdi Kanu. It's quite unfortunate for those who are saying he's fighting the Fulanis. Fighting the Fulanis for what? He's only fighting to defend his political dynasty. He's only fighting to defend his interests. There is no other reason why Tinubu is doing whatever he's doing today. He wants to weaken the strength of the oppositions or perceived enemies who might want to counter his political ambition comes 2027. There is no other thing. He's, whatever he's doing, he doesn't even care for the Igbos. He doesn't care for the Yorubas. That is the true position. If he does care, he should understand the season and the implication of what is happening today and set the record straight. You're trying to divide and weaken the strength of the North by trying to create some awareness or trying to sponsor some narratives that the Middle Belts are not under the control of the Arewas and the rest of them. These are just divide and rule. He has no other intention but to make sure that he secures his political ambition comes 2027. Tinubu, who said that he do not believe in one Nigeria 30 years ago. Now the question is, there is something he saw that led him to make that confession, and that was a true confession. Now, if he do not believe in one Nigeria 30 years ago, when the Nigeria could be considered to be living in El Dorado, now that Nigeria is descending abysmally, what justification does Tinubu have to say he believes in one Nigeria? He should have done the needful. There have been clamors across the regions, the North, the West, the East. Call for national sovereign conference. Let the continued existence of Nigeria be discussed. Call for constitutional review that will give people opportunity to discuss the continued existence of Nigeria and a possible, of course, balkanization of the country, if that becomes necessary, because that is the only panacea to the antidote to the myriads of problems bedeviling the people today. You've seen it of most recent. Some persons fanning the embers of war. We are jihadis. We are going to invade the Yoruba land. If they fail to take up Sharia, if they fail to adopt Sharia, they resist the imposition of Sharia on them, we are going to invade them. Isn't that a threat? Isn't that enough to begin to think otherwise? But Tinubu is not concerned, is not perturbed by whatever is happening around his own people. So how could they have any concern? Well, I wouldn't have to blame him, because Tinubu can't take up all the blame can be apportioned to him. He has his own interest to defend and the interest of his people. But how well is he defending it? Well, that is not my interest here today. But what are the so-called Igbo elites, Igbo traditional rulers, Igbo religious leaders? What are they doing to protect their own self? Onye ajụrụ ọ na-ajụ onwe ya. Unfortunately, the same people are the ones sponsoring the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, not even Tinubu himself. Perhaps, let alone for Tinubu, he would have willingly released Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but there are vested interests. Those who are, of course, shaking the bush in the forest and coming out to ask, who are those doing that? They will come to tell us, releasing Nnamdi Kanu. When they go in their inner chambers, they say, Tinubu, Farabale, don't release him. Double standard. But people are watching, people are seeing all the dramas. You can't continue to fool the people all the time. So Tinubu should not be blamed for the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because there are people behind the scene of pulling the string. So you don't have to blame him. You rather blame the Igbos, blame the political elites, who for their selfish interests continue the subjugation of their own people, just perhaps to please their tax masters, just perhaps to secure their political dynasty and interest. But how long will this continue? Remember, without your people, you are nobody. Because the time will come when you have to reckon or reference them. The time will come when you will need them, but it might be too late. If you allow your people being killed, when the war begins, nobody will defend you. Nobody will stand behind you. It's quite unfortunate. The Yoruba political elites are more informed. They use their brain. They are not like an average Igbo politician who is just only one way direction. They think that they are once, they remain Oduwa nation, Yoruba nation, before they become Nigeria. So whatever that will jeopardize their own identity, cultural identity and affinity, preservation of their cultural heritage, they will stand against it. See even how most of the Yorubas, Muslims, are saying we are rejecting Sharia. We don't want Sharia. They are Yorubas, Muslims, dedicated, devoted Muslims. They are saying we don't want Sharia because of the implication, because of the consequences. It will destroy our own cultural heritage. It will make us aliens in our own land. It will disrupt the public peace and coexistence within our family members. So it will be a channel or a medium of allowing the dominance and exclusive subjugation by the Fulani Caliphate. They saw this and they said, no, we must align with our own people. We must have a forge a common front. Religion matters should not divide us. Religious matters should not, of course, expose us to such level of vulnerability that we lose our own cultural heritage, our own people, our own custom, and surrender ignorantly our own freedom to the Fulani Caliphate in Sokoto. They are saying that the Sultan of Sokoto has no sovereignty, has no control over the territory of the Yoruba landmark. Of course, of Moses, and they are rejecting whatever directive coming from the Sultan as a sign to prove that they cannot sacrifice their own security, their own freedom, their own existence at the altar of religion. But how many of the Igbos politicians can stand the test of time defending their own people? They can even sell out their own people. They can even sell out their own people for cheap political gains. It is quite unfortunate. Today, the Igbos are fleeing their homes. running to IDPs. You are now beginning to have the internally displaced persons in Igbo land. It means there's fire on the mountain. There is serious fire on the mountain. So you can't continue to blame Tinubu. The people has the right. And anyone involved must see the need to rise up in defense of their own people. Otherwise, there could be possibility of overrunning the entire eastern part in just 5 days. If no actions is taken to checkmate this, God forbid, the intentions of those invaders, the Fulani militias and the rest of them, might become a history